right to travel in private transportation. Like, what do they want? They want him to live like a total schlep and not have any, private security.
Let me get to Laura. Stand by. RC, you got about 30 seconds before I go to Christian Hartsock. Go ahead, RC.
Hey, look, I think that those are all very important issues Laura brings up, but I think this issue that you bring up also in the documentary of federal informants investigating Project Veritas, the feds being involved in Project Veritas. We know about you being, raided by the FBI, but there is still information that the DOJ could release about exactly what the feds did to Project Veritas. You have to understand, when journalists are investigated by feds, it creates a chilling effect. It's a core issue, and it matters not only because of public trust in media, but it's literally a constitutional issue. So look, I'm challenging Pam Bondi at this time to release all information she has about the feds, the Joe Biden federal government investigating Project Veritas. I think she
Yes, thank you, RC. That's a great point. I'm going to make that point every single show I do until this is unredacted. They redacted every single word for RC is referring to of the probable cause, that is the justification for the search warrant against myself, Eric Cochran, and Spencer Meads. And while they dropped the case in February, the FBI dropped the case about the diary and the raid against me, and there's no criminal investigation. They redacted every word. We need that unredacted. We believe were confidential Fed informants at Project Veritas. Oh, and by the way, it's a crime to lie to the FBI. So whoever lied to the FBI about the fact that we committed a crime, we're committing a felony. Hey, maybe that's why they hate me so much. It's people tend to project onto you. But we're going to go to Christian Hartsock. Christian, are you there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My question for you is this. Do you think it's okay for Matt Tiermont to say things like, quote, "come guzzling dumpster" to my current chief technology officer? Do you think it's okay for Angela Martinez to steal medical records from an innocent woman? And do you stand with the individuals after they sexually harassed me, sent me pictures of semen covered on a sandwich, counter-imposed dildos in my mouth, and board members co-investing in medical companies? What is your comment on that behavior, Christian Hartsock?
No, they know exactly how I feel about that, about those texts. And but you know me. I've been friends with you for 15 years.
Wait, hold on a second. Define friend.
Are you gonna? No. You want me to answer, or are you going to talk over me?
Go ahead.
Okay. I remain friends with everyone. For the same reason I remain friends with you after you tried to lure Abby Boudreaux onto a boat full of dildos and condoms and chocolate strawberries and sex toys for God knows what fucking reason, and lied to me about it when all she wanted to do was get on the set of Landry Dance and film me directing it. I stayed friends with you. You made a public humiliation of me, and I stood by you. Scott Zamos called me, invited me down to Sunset to go on CNN and distance myself from you and say I knew nothing about this, which was true. You totally blindsided me. I knew absolutely nothing about it. But I said, no, James, you're too late. James already called me and apologized, and he's my friend, and I will stand by him. And I always stood by you. I continue to stand by you. I never stopped considering myself your friend. Where I stopped short is being willing to lie to the public for you, which is exactly what you were doing. When you claimed that you were ousted, which you are still lying. Why are you lying about that?
So can you answer
no, I'm not done. I'm not done, James.
So this is not your show. We're going to cut your mic. Mute the mic, please. Mute the mic, Christian. Christian, I'm happy to have a conversation with you, but this is not your show, and I asked you a question. I asked you a question about the board members co-investing in companies and their conflicts of interest. Are you willing to have a conversation with me about the board members of Project Veritas terminating James O'Keefe? Are you willing to talk about that? Yes or no? You can unmute Christian's mic. It won't be a monologue of you spouting about random stuff from...
What do you mean random stuff, James?
I'm asking you a question about the board firing me and your comments about
Tell me when the board fired you. Tell me the date the board fired you. Because you
February.
told the public one thing, and you told, and the reality we know was that it was 3 months later.
February 10th, 2023 is when the board voted to indefinitely suspend me without pay.
Okay, so you just notice what you just did. You just moved the goalposts. You changed, fired you.
Never changed anything.
You suspended. You
No, that is termination under New York law. Indefinite suspension without pay is called indentured servitude, aka slavery. So that would be considered termination under federal law.
What they voted to do was suspend your ability to retaliate against employees who had bravely testified to the way you had treated them.
So let's talk about the grievances, Christian. What do you think about Julia Witt manufacturing a claim that I stole a pregnant lady sandwich?
You didn't notice you conveniently leave out.
What is your response? I would love you to answer. What is your response to the lie about the pregnant lady sandwich, Christian Hartzog?
What are the words that you left out of what Julia Witt said? She said you yelled at her, you shouted at her.
I yelled at her?
Sandwich. That's exactly.
You didn't respond to my question.
I am responding to your question. What you're doing.
The question is.
Can I just say something? Why are we pretending like in this industry, even like regardless of whether you yelled at the woman or not? It's called investigative reporting. This is high-profile investigative reporting. There were so many instances in the office where people yelled at each other, not because they were trying to be disrespectful, but because, we're breaking a big story. It's like, I know, but people just need to stop being so fake about, you yelled. Who cares? A lot of people yelled at the office.
Chris,
James,
hold on. I'm going to cut his mic. This is not your show. Cut his mic. I'm going to ask you a question. And here's the question I have. And it's a very specific question. An attorney for Project Veritas fabricates a claim that I stole a sandwich. Your co-defendant, whose name I will not mention because it doesn't concern her, a fellow investigative reporter, comes out and denies this ever happened. Christian Hartzog, what do you have to say about an attorney fabricating an allegation? Please limit your answer to the question that I've asked you. Go ahead.
If she fabricated it, then why did you draft an apology? Why did you ask the board if you could read an apology letter at 4 hours and 41 minutes into the board recording that you made? I
didn't say that she fabricated it.
I quote, if I don't change,
cut his mic.
Use Project
Veritas. If he's not gonna cooperate, we're not gonna. I didn't fabricate it. Your fellow colleague, you know who she is, in the Democracy Partners case, said that she fabricated it. What is your response to her fabrication? What is your response to that? Go ahead, answer the question.
First of all, I reject your premise that Julia Witt fabricated and she was.
But that's what your colleague said.
No, there's probably a misunderstanding of those stupid sandwiches. The point is, you verbally abused her, James. Not the sandwich. You didn't fucking read what she wrote. She said that you verbally abused her. Who gives a shit what it was about?
All right.
Okay. Number two. Why did you say in the board meeting at 4 out in the quote crucifixion? Why did you say?
I feel like I'm the one being verbally abused.
I'm saying.
Oh well.
I mean, why are you cursing at me so much?
Okay.
Is this how you talk to your colleagues?
Cursing has never offended me, so I guess okay. I will not use.
I mean, the comments I'm getting right now is this guy's screaming and cursing at you. You're doing precisely what you accuse me of. You're projecting onto me.
What you're doing. Okay. Why did you say to the board? Why did you say I appreciate everyone caring so much about the mission? I really appreciate everyone being so honest.
Well, evidently, because I didn't realize at the time. Because I didn't realize at the time what I know now, which is that many of these people don't actually care about the mission. And that came out afterwards when they called me a quote faggot, when they sent me pictures of semen covered sandwiches, when attorneys fabricated allegations, when board members solicited investments from donors and didn't disclose that, which is a violation of the conflict of interest. I learned so much. I was once blind and now I see, Christian. My question for you is this.
You see what?
Now
Because
that
that's
you
what
know
said,
the
if I
character
don't
of-
change, we will lose Project Veritas. Why did you say that?
Because I didn't think it was.
Why did you turn around and belittle? Was it 6 hours
I mean-
of Julia talking about a sandwich, James? Was it 6 hours of Julia talking about a sandwich? Or were there very real grievances that were brought to your attention that you said, if I don't change, we will lose Project Veritas?
I mean,
what did you mean by
I
that?
guess
What
the
about-
question is, I sent an apology letter, and I genuinely meant it about saying in front of other people, there's the door. But the problem is Barry Hinckley stated he would not follow my lead. So my question back to you, Christian Hartzog, in a situation where I tell someone, you need to do this, and they are insubordinate, what was I supposed to do? You want me to raise $24 million a year, and you're not allowing me to take an SUV. So what exactly do you expect me to do as the CEO or leader? And that's the problem with your logic. You don't have an answer. You just keep going back to I yelled at somebody. I don't know what you're referring to.
No, that's the part. No, that's not. No, that's the thing. You want to laser focus in on. For the last 2 years, all you have focused in on is Sandwich Gate and black cars. When you know goddamn well, you sat there.
Can
Why
you
did
please
never
stop
release the-
cursing
Why did you
at
not
me?
release the tape? Why? Okay, James. In 16 years, you've never been offended by the F word. Why are you pretending to be offended by it?
Because I think it's important that we
Why are
can
you
have...
pretending to be someone you're not? You use the F word all the time. You were never this thin-skinned pussy about it.
Okay, well, because we're on a public show in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
Okay, all
And
right.
I think it's important to try to have a cordial conversation without hurling
Okay.
expletives.
But I really don't appreciate the way you've been attacking people for the last 2 years, laser focused, personal, to writing, completely belittling, very real. Why?
Hey, Christian, I'm raising money right now for lawyers to defend the reporting, some of the reporting you're involved in. I don't think you understand the price of being a leader when you have to raise tens of millions of dollars a year. And your colleague said, I will not follow your lead. And then you guys ran out of money, and there was no money to defend you. So help me understand. Help me understand. What were you guys thinking?
What do you mean? What was I? You abandoned us, James. No one wanted you to leave Project Veritas. No one wanted you gone, and you know that.
I was indefinitely suspended without pay.
Never released. Because well, of course they had to suspend you from retaliating against employees who had testified. That's a normal thing.
And how did that go
your
for
ability
them?
to hire and fire, and they suspended your ability to raise money while pending the results of an internal audit, which is the part you conveniently leave out.
And can you give me an example of something I did financially wrong, Christian Hartzog? Can you give me one example?
That's not. Well, if you had waited for there to be an internal, maybe you were completely innocent, but clearly you were not, because you cut and ran. You were afraid of simply sticking with the team and saying, "Hey guys, don't."
So if I were to indefinitely suspend you without pay, that's called indentured servitude in New York State. I can't indefinitely suspend someone without pay and tell them they work for me. If I were to indefinitely suspend you without a paycheck, what would you do?
Well, there was a subsequent board meeting later that week that you didn't show up to. If you were so confident that you had been spending donor money, without anything for anyone to complain about, then why didn't you stick around for that board meeting, that second board meeting?
Because they told me to be gone for 2 weeks. They told me to be gone for 2
They
weeks.
did not. This is where you know you're lying. They did not tell you. You're going to tell me that they invited you to a board meeting?
Can I get a response from you on the issue before the federal judge, which is the
No, I want to know why did you not show up to the board meeting?
See, here's the thing. This is my show, and when you go in front of a jury, you don't get to yell at the jury and the federal judge. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. I want to ask you, Christian Hartzog, another question. What do you think about the board members of Project Veritas publishing private, intimate text messages between me and my girlfriend? And please only answer that question. If you deviate from answering that question, I'm going to
they know everything.
Go ahead.
They know everything. They know exactly how I feel about that.
And how do you feel about that, Christian Hartside? Be brave. Tell the world.
That's the same way I felt about you trying to lure Abby Boudreaux onto a boat full of dildos and sex toys, and making me take the fall for it on CNN.
How do you feel about the board members of the company publishing the IT person publishing R.C. Maxwell's medical records? Tell me your response to that. Are you brave enough to make a comment?
I did. Excuse me. They know very well, and they've known all this time that I never that I'm against that, as you well know. Okay, but here's the problem: is you want me to be this avatar for everything that anyone has ever done to you or RC, when I'm not. You invited me to talk. I will talk about what was within my knowledge and was within my control. And the fact is, you abandoned your team. You lied to the public. You were not
Christian. You liked the comment that Angela made, trying to torment and taunt my wife. By the way, you liked that comment on IG. You're gonna sit here and you're gonna say, I don't remember it, because you're not mad enough to sit here and say, yes, I liked that comment because I had animosity for you because you stood with James. See, this is the problem.
Well, I don't think that's not a comment that I like. Why don't you take this up?
Evil, corrupt power cannot win unless there are people like you who are either too stupid not to know the difference or willing to be a puppet. And I feel like you're either in one category and you yourself are not.
You're projecting because RC, you told me yourself, you're projecting because you told me yourself James needed to be reined in. And you told me that, but if James leaves, you will leave to protect your brand. It didn't. You even told me it didn't matter who was in the wrong. If James left, you would leave to protect your brand, and sure enough, that's what you did. Whereas the brave souls that stayed aboard Project Veritas and refused to join.
You're saying you're righteous. We're all liars, and we're all doing it for what?
Well, you knew James was lying. You knew James was lying.
Can I ask you an honest question? Did you know that we had board members who had medical companies who were potentially shopping them to companies like Pfizer? Were you aware of that?
Yeah, and all that would matter if James was actually ousted. But here's the thing, RC. You know damn well James is not ousted.
We're gonna
had a company.
Were you aware that they knew about the Pfizer investigation for 2 years? Why did they suddenly wait until the release in late January 2023 to suddenly say, you know what, now James has gone too far. Let's oust him. They knew about, Matt Tierman knew about the Pfizer investigation for 2 years.
Question, are you currently in a revolutionary strat with Tierman? Are you currently in a revolutionary strat with
No, why don't you answer my question, James? I will answer your question after you answer mine. Why did you...
That's a tautology. I don't have to answer your irrelevant questions.
I don't have to.
Because when this goes before a jury, you're not going to be able to yell and scream at a judge and tell him to answer your questions. Publication of private facts, defamation, is unlawful, Christian Hartzog. You can't publish people's private medical records. Do you understand? You cannot publish people's private medical records. The fact that you are unable or unwilling to condemn someone publishing R.C. Maxwell's wife's medical records says so much about you. You can't sign a conflicts of interest policy at a nonprofit and then invest in companies and not disclose it. You can't do that. Now I'm going to give you one more chance. Do you have any comment on the following things? Do you have any comment on sexual, graphic, and obscene messages sent from these are your friends. Do you have any comment on the attorney of Project Veritas fabricating an allegation according to the pregnant lady? And do you have any comment, most importantly, on the board members of the company co-investing in companies and not disclosing that conflict of interest? Do you have any comment on those three things? Go ahead. Christian.
And you have no proof that Julia fabricated anything, except what she did fabricate was you verbally abusing her in front of people. Whether it was someone's sandwich or not, why do you lazy?
All right, get him off the air.
Were they talking?
Get him off the air. I mean, I wanted to give you guys a glimpse into this. I run from nothing, I hide from nothing. You got to hear directly from one of the people at Project Veritas who was fired after the company ran out of money. RC, what's your reaction to that?
Look, I want to know who is a federal informant at Project Veritas, who was a federal informant. I think the picture is still cloudy. Like I said, I think that, powerful people can't do evil unless there are pawns they can use. I think Christian is one of those pawns. I am curious to what the next depositions, what comes out. I'm curious to hear what Matthew Tiraman has to say in his additional depositions. We know he's conniving. You heard the clip that his anti-Trump clip that speaks to his conniving nature. I think there's still.
Wondering what Christian has to say about Matt Tiraman saying Trump will never be president. Like that, I didn't think to ask that question, but I don't want to, bother you guys with ramblings and non sequiturs. And this is for the viewers. I mean, this is the kind of, unfortunately, and by the way, let me be fair. I think Christian did some great work at Project Veritas. The two things I think he did amazing were the report on Bob Creamer, which, by the way, I'm appealing to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. We're currently paying for the legal fees to defend the journalism that he was involved in. He did great work. I think he did great work on the story involving an ABC producer that was caught on tape saying they need to cross the Hudson River and actually research why people in this country love Trump. Christian did some great work. Unfortunately, Christian Hartsock fell a victim to, he wanted more credit, and he became, I believe, resentful and quite vindictive after he was not given the credit as an undercover journalist. And that turned into a kind of vindictiveness and a kind of resentment. And I actually, so I want to be fair that I think he did some good work, but unfortunately, and this is what it comes down to, if you don't have integrity in your life, and if you can't condemn what we're talking about here, and if you can't take a stance, then it doesn't matter how good it doesn't matter how talented you are or how great your output is. You have to have integrity. And that kind of gives you a glimpse into kind of some of the people that I have had to deal with. Two things can be true. They can be talented. They can do some great things. But if they're going to send me dildos in my mouth and send a picture of me nailed to a cross, I don't know if we have that one. We don't even want to show it's too graphic. They nail me to a crucifix. I'm sorry, I can't work with you. And I thank God every single day that these people are no longer in my life. See, that's the blessing that God gave me. You don't work for me anymore. I don't need to pay your bills anymore. I don't need to raise money to make sure that you're fed, that you're traveling around the country. So we'll end it on that one. And we have a few more exhibits to go through, and then we're going to get to you, the viewers. We want to hear from people who've watched the film. If you're just tuning in, you are listening live to James O'Keefe on the Inside, talking about what really happened to Project Veritas and taking you through little glimpses of the film that we've released. What's next? The board member wanting to this is the board meeting. You're actually in this movie, The Truth Inside Veritas. We're going to take you inside the board meeting, and you're going to hear audio and video, see video of me trying to defend myself
into the message that you have to deliver. So really understand your audience.
This is, we don't have sound on this flip. Sorry. We're going to have sound in a moment. This is me, pause, give some context for the listeners. This is me trying to defend myself. I'd love an opportunity to respond to these accusations. You heard some accusations by Christian Hartsock hurling things at me that I yelled at somebody. Okay, I'd love an opportunity to respond to that accusation. Let's listen to these attempts to make this is from the board meeting when I was, right before I was fired. Play it.
Should we respond when Barry Hinckley is off the front, please?
That's all. Do I have a chance to respond to this?
I would like to read my opinion. No, he made no effort to defend himself.
If the chance of you.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to respond. So pause. There's 5 or 6 times during this board meeting that I was begging to respond to these weird allegations, and they would not let me respond. They refused to let me respond. Keep going.
I think it's only appropriate to have the chief executive officer respond with the facts. I have a right to respond or object to anything anybody was saying.
So this is unbelievable, the contradictions here. If you're listening, you can go to o'keefemediagroup.com, watch the full film, subscribe. It's $9. o'keefemediagroup.com to watch this incredibly cinematic experience taking you on the inside. You know, one of my mantras is show, don't tell. You don't have to take my word for it. You can actually hear what these people were saying in the board meeting. Let's go to a few more. This is board member of Project Veritas admitting that he wanted to harm me.
When did you switch to wanting to harm James? After James started claiming he was fired.
And I said he wanted to harm me for making the statement that I was fired. And I think we want to go through some callers, and this is when I go to the audience here. If you want to join the discussion, please DM me, James O'Keefe, III, and my producers will get you in. This is James O'Keefe, III on X. If you want to join this discussion, I want to hear from people who watched the movie. And I think we have someone that is going to call in a minute, or if that person doesn't want to, okay. For those of you who've watched the movie or seen The Truth Inside Veritas, I think Zach Voorhees has watched the movie. So, Zach, you're on board. Go ahead. Zach is connecting. Zach Voorhees, of course, the famous Google whistleblower from 2019.
Outlining the roads to use, areas to avoid, the most efficient times to travel, and the best survival techniques to use on your journey. How would you feel in comparison? Well, I'd imagine you'd feel a little more confident that you're going to get to where you want to go, rather than just being pointed in the general direction. Now, the deliverables of a visual brand are relatively route outlining.
Honestly, you know, it's like these movies where you click through and, you know, sometimes they're iffy. This one is amazing. There's a lot of stuff that I was surprised you held back. Like, I went into this movie thinking that I already knew the whole story, but the stuff that you had in this movie was absolutely incredible. To all you, you know, to the people that did this to you, James, I have to say, shame on you first. Like, the problem is that you believed that you were Project Veritas. And you pulled a coup. And now you're not doing journalism, and James is. And thank God for people like you, James, that have come through. I trust you're going to prevail. It's a pretty open and shut thing to me. Like, once you get all the facts out there, a rational person is going to realize that this was a coup. It was done for power. And because of the resilience of one man, James O'Keefe.
Hey, Zach, you mentioned after watching the film you saw something you didn't know, or something, because you're pretty knowledgeable about some of this. You paid close attention. What was it about the film, or what did you see in the movie at O'KeefeMediaGroup.com called The Truth Inside Veritas. What was it that really struck you this time around?
How the board members, who was that? It was that older gentleman who was in the deposition a lot.
George Skakel.
George Skakel, yeah. He was saying things under deposition that he clearly was lying about. And to see everybody involved in their ability to lie, like just continuously lie and lie and lie, was quite frankly frightening.
And why do you think that? What's your assessment? Is it? You know, I have my hypotheses, but it seems to be based and predicated in some type of envy or resentment for not getting fame. And what do you think? How do you analyze that? Because you're pretty good at getting into depth on some of these issues.
Look, I've been an entrepreneur. I've shipped 8,000 units for a product I built in China. I had the same thing happen to me. And when I saw what was going down, I started to investigate. If you look on my timeline, you'll see that I posted James's struggle sessions. And I've listened to that audio about 3 times. And that's actually the reason why I decided that I was going to back you, is because when you hear the struggle sessions, what you see is a person who's coming into a board meeting, hasn't really done anything really that bad, with his tail between his legs. And what he doesn't realize is he's walking into a theater, essentially, in which the outcome has already been predetermined. And once I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, how can you back somebody that's power hungry? They didn't build that.
You have created
What is that rooted in? Is that because I think the struggle session is something they say, well, this isn't a struggle session, but you see in the film, The Truth Inside Veritas, that they don't want me to actually respond to any of these things. So it's rooted in this Maoist philosophy, this Chinese punishment. You need to feel abused and tortured by us, which is the farthest thing from any American concept of justice. One of the greatest ironies of my life was to see people who are ostensibly right-wingers behave like communists. I mean, these are not unknowing people. Skakel has an MBA from Harvard. Tierman studied economics at the University of Chicago. These are not unknowing people. But it also showed a profound lack of wisdom. And is it rooted in the distinction between knowledge and wisdom, Zach?
I think it's rooted in ego. And being able to craft an internal narrative for yourself that makes the actions that don't make sense to the individual. And in a way, I almost can't even blame them, right? Because some people are just built that way. And, unfortunately, you were surrounded by them.
Well, Zach, thank you. We got a couple of people want to get to before we call it in 15 minutes. I appreciate it, Zach. Let's go to the next caller. This is Mike. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
How you doing, James? Can you hear me?
Yes. I'd love your response to The Truth Inside Veritas Part 1.
Well, honestly, I did not watch The Truth Inside Veritas Part 1. But I hear you guys talking about wisdom and envy and jealousy. And as someone who has came from nothing and made it, I've watched the people around me, get envious and jealous in the workplace. And I think that has to do a lot with human nature. And first off, I want to thank you for all the hard work that you do and the balls that you've had to get up and go investigate all this stuff that's been going on in this country that half the other people have no balls to get up and do, that they've been afraid to get online and speak the truth. I get it. A lot of people have been censored. They've been taken down by the system, and I think you're an example of the system trying to take you down when you try to speak your truth. But and this is what they do. They try to get people to come and speak up against you. They're trying to take you down any way they can. It's a why them, not me mentality in the workplace. I don't know about this Veritas thing, but I heard the kid crying that somebody yelled at him. His boss yelled at him. My boss used to yell at me every day. I mean, that's business. That's how it works. There's a difference between reprimanding somebody on the job and telling them what to do, and you know.
Thank you for the comment, and I hope you do watch it. You can watch the 12-minute excerpt on our X page. We've posted a whole video explaining, but I want everyone to watch this movie and support us at O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. Please subscribe. It's $9. People say, why do you charge for journalism? We're entitled to your stories. You're not entitled. That's also a communist argument. You're entitled to
Dave, I'm sorry.
Now, I'm not talking about you, sir. I'm talking in general. People make comments.
No, of course, but I just want to point this out.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I want to point out people don't understand what you're doing. You can't do it on your own. You do need black SUVs. You do need protection. You're putting your life in danger to expose the corruption.
Did you see the people on the rooftop for our private event in Palm Beach? We had guys look like Train Day Aragua. They had masks on. People say you're DJing. Yeah, I'm DJing.
How do you make
Train Day Aragua
by
guys.
spending $5 trillion? You created $17 trillion debt in 10 years.
You shouldn't have
Do not trust or vote for Governor Hood.
Okay, what do you want me to do? Be in a cave and be joyless? Yeah, there are definitely a few days or a week or so where you kind of sit back and say, I'm in danger. But you also have to send a message. I appreciate your comment. I want to get to a few more people. Let's go to the next person. I appreciate that. Oh, by the way, before I go to the next person, he's right about one of the questions I have. This is a rhetorical question. Are the people at Veritas who have all these very bizarre and strange resentments and envies, what are they going to do with their next employer? You can't behave like this in any organization. Let's go to... what do we have up next? Died suddenly. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
It's not within.
Hey, James. This is all. I'm one of the producers for Died Suddenly. I appreciate seeing you again to kind of work you a little bit at the party.
Yeah.
Listening to this space has been quite something. I think you mentioned this to Alex Jones prior to the exchange with this Christian fella. It's so difficult to fund and operate media on the right. It's very long hours. The sponsorships are not as lucrative. We don't have Soros money sitting around the corner for everything. And I found one of the most intriguing parts of this is that you look at what was sacrificed over the last couple of years, especially since going back to your time at Breitbart. I mean, you're one of the founding fathers of the kind of dissident, non-establishment right. Many people, including myself, kind of came up in after you already had set the tone. Just hearing Christian, I had no idea that one of the ringleaders in this is working at OAN now. I was looking at his profile, I was like, holy crap.
Christian works for American News?
Maybe not. In his profile, it says he's one of the producers for Chanel Reno. And, it just makes me ponder. So you've got some very talented people working for you, and I just wonder, where the rest of them have, scurried off to. And as you just noted, who are they else about to sabotage? And who else are they about to unleash the same kind of thing that they did to you, the same coup, the same kind of disloyalty?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a legitimate question. And it really, did you watch the Truth Inside Veritas?
Yes, I did. And the boardroom was honestly the most shocking part. I think where you just mentioned about the Maoist kind of tone to that whole thing is that you went in there and it was a firing squad.
Firing squad.
You did your best, and no one can be criticized. What the heck are you supposed to do? There's no manual.
Well, just
your best friends.
We're speaking to someone who's actually watched the film, and for those of you who have not watched the film, this film is behind our paywall. We are publishing some excerpts on X page, 12 minutes or so, but he's talking about the part of the movie, which you can watch by going to O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. It's $9, where we actually play the video and audio from the famous board meeting on February 6th. And he said it was a firing squad. Just talk to me about what your reaction to that was. You heard the testimony of the employees about sandwiches and I'm a mean boss and stuff like that. What was your reaction to that?
I think you were actually very measured in it. I can just to set the tone. And these people were your friends. You provided for them. You worked tireless hours, put yourself in danger to provide resources and to fundraise. Like we say, fundraise. I mean, you have to literally break 10, 15 national stories, to get to where you could fundraise $20 million a year. It's not any small thing. Not anyone can do that. And then the very same people are essentially setting you up. They're setting the tone and setting the stage for a legal battle. Well, that's what that boardroom kind of stunk of, is that they were just trying to throw things at you. They drug up whatever they could drug up, and then the ultimate goal was to get the response. Maybe they wanted you to have you melt down worse. Maybe they wanted to have
I think that one credible advisor said they were trying to get me to lose my temper. And what's ironic about that is the more people get angry and hostile towards me, the calmer I get. It's like when I'm confronting bad guys, I'm extremely calm. And I didn't lose my temper. So they had to come up with some very strange, truly surreal, bizarre things. It's wrong for me to have a car transport me to meetings. I'm not sure I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Uber, carpool myself. I don't know what the thinking is, but let me ask you a question. You seem like a smart man. Do you think this is just human nature, bell curve distribution? Or do you think, and I don't want to give you a false dichotomy if there's another option, is it human nature that we're witnessing when people are put under pressure? Or is it, something else?
I think it's not so much human nature as much as it is the right wing attracts a certain persona, a certain character or person. There's a lot of very courageous people on the right. There's also a lot of really dysfunctional people that have emotional problems, anger issues. They're incredibly good at what they do, but they don't always play well with others, and they also are not always used to playing on a team. And part of playing on a team is you don't always get a win-win. It's not always the best case scenario. Being on the team is about the team winning.
So you're saying people on the right it's more common amongst people, teams consisting of so-called right-wingers?
I'd say that's part of it. And then the second is that I think the right, especially the last 10, 15 years, it's become less religious, more power broker, more politics. And the issue with that specifically is that we get away from, I think, the core mission. I think many of the people on the right, just to speak broadly, we wouldn't get into as many fights as we get into if we just can remember who our original enemy is. It's Satan. And none of this other stuff really matters. And people shouldn't be putting.
We have a bunch of atheists at Project Veritas.
Really? Well,
yes. I guess it's illegal in New York State to ask whether you're a Christian when you're hiring, right? So the world is so screwed up. It's like, it's very. I think this movie. I'm going to make a comment here. I think this experience, having gone through it, it makes you question everything. It makes you question God. When the people that's closest to you, at least temporarily question God, but everything, your whole world collapses, and people are lying about you and betraying you and stabbing you, and any other comment you want to make about the film or something that struck you about it before we go to the next caller?
I appreciate you letting me talk. The only thing I'd add is just that I hope through it that you haven't lost your faith, and I think it was commendable that you stayed strong and you stayed upright.
My faith temporarily. I would say that the word I use is discouraged and disheartened. And Jordan Peterson talks about this type of betrayal being the worst hell on earth a man could possibly feel. But that's temporary, and you got to keep going. Never give up. But it's been nice talking to you. I'll hope to talk to you one-on-one more. Okay?
Take care.
Thank you. Let's go to the next caller. Who do we got, guys? All right. Anwar, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Is it Anwar?
Yeah, that's correct.
Anwar, how you doing today?
I'm good, James. How are you?
We're talking about the Truth Inside Veritas Part 1. Have you had a chance to watch any part of it?
I'll be honest, I haven't not, but it's something I'm going to be doing definitely tonight after I finish with this stream.
And what's your reaction to what we're talking about today with some of what you've heard? That's why I hate so much. It's people tend to project onto you. But we're going to go to Christian Arts on
Because you didn't see it in New York City.
A lot of assets involved to try to.
The route, outlining the roads to use, the areas to avoid, the most efficient times to travel, and the best.
It's a tactic used generally as a psyop to try to manipulate a lot of your followers' beliefs that they have in regards to you.
Well,
And this whole thing going back with, Christian going back
The
and
route,
forth.
outlining the roads to use, the areas to avoid, the most efficient times to travel, and the best survival techniques to use on your journey. How would you feel in comparison? Well, I'd imagine you'd feel a little more confident that you're going to get to where you want to go, rather than just being pointed in the general direction. Now, the deliverables of a visual brand are relatively a route, outlining the roads to use.
The whole purpose of that was to get everybody to look at you like, oh my God, he's pretty much infiltrating your data and exposing into text messages and among other things. Is a tactic used by a lot of these big tech, billionaire, trillionaire groups of people to mentally break you. They try to gain hold of you and use you and toy with you like a puppet by doing things like that. And for the fact that you stood your ground and you continue to report and bring truth to a lot of people. Is what you're generally characterized by.
Well, thank you for that. We have got some really, listen, as I listen to you and I listen to the other gentleman, I assume you don't have an MBA from Harvard, correct? I shouldn't assume that. I shouldn't assume that. Do you have an MBA from Harvard?
I would like.
Do you have a master's degree in economics from the University of Chicago?
Unfortunately, I don't.
What I'm hearing in the voices of the callers is the wisdom in their voices. These are not necessarily academics. And my conclusion from the episode, not my conclusion, my analysis is that there is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. And you have some really knowledgeable people that were sending me these pornographic obscenities and publishing medical records and conflicts of interest, but they weren't very wise.
Right.
And I'm reminded of a Nietzsche quote, if you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. What he meant by that is he who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. And I've seen a lot of my colleagues, former colleagues, their actions are that of monsters. And maybe they had to find God if they are atheists. Maybe that would help them. Let's go to another caller. Thank you, Anwar. Let's go to Diamond.
Thank you.
Let's go to Diamond. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Hey, what's up, James?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your? Have you seen the Truth Inside Veritas?
I've seen the trailer on YouTube. I haven't seen the film that's on your website.
And what's your reaction to what you've seen so far? Human nature. I guess you have to watch the film to answer that question, but we'd love any reaction. I guess you have to watch the film.
It might be human nature. I think maybe people's conflicts of interest kind of come into play after a while, but they don't really, I guess they don't have to let you know about them, but I'm not sure about the legal side, but I think over time, conflicts of interest come up.
Over time, conflicts of interest, we tend to fight human nature doing this at OMG and Project Veritas and Citizen Journalism Foundation. The preservation to the instinct for self-preservation often comes into conflict with doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And as you expose the truth, and anyone who's done this in the 20th century and before usually gets killed, assassinated, or crucified, the more truth you tell, the worse it gets, to quote Al Pacino from The Insider. So I think you're right. Another bit of wisdom. By the way, we have we have a critic, someone who has a different. I always try to be fair. I want to hear both perspectives. This is Mike.
Those are two hate speeches on that
saying
YouTube.
I'm lying
The
about
third
the
one.
board meeting invite. Go ahead, Mike. Tell me your perspective and why you think I'm lying.
Well, no, I should have elaborated a little bit on that. If he could have phrased the sentence right, he would have been able to prove that you were a liar. I'm not saying that you're a liar, but what he had was an opportunity, because about the board meeting, and just based on just the facts, by the way, and I have a lot of respect for your word, James. But if you were not invited, if you were invited to this board meeting, but you did not attend, that is a conflict there. Like, someone is lying in that particular situation.
I see.
And so what I'm saying is he could have proved that you were lying if he could form a coherent sentence. But you didn't follow it up.
You're talking about Christian Hartsock could form a coherent
that's
sentence.
Right. Yes, that's right. But you didn't follow it up. And so that's ambiguous to those of us who were listening, because that seemed like he was in good.
Yeah, it's like he was going on what do they call that in the Senate, where they just talk at you and filibustering.
Yes.
So that's why I had to mute the mic, because there's no way to have a dialogue. I can respond to that and tell me if you think this answers the question that he posed, which was that when on February 6th board meeting, they suspended me for 2 weeks and said, you're not allowed to talk to donors. You need to take a mandatory leave. And I'll be gone for 2 weeks as requested. And then while I'm on this mandatory leave for 2 weeks, which they mandated by corporate bylaw, then they requested me to come back to work to attend some
routes, outlining the roads to use, areas to avoid, the most efficient times to travel.
If I did come back, then I would be violating the previous directive.
For a small country,
that's how I
small population,
and I think it was quite irrational. So I decided to follow their original directive, which is don't contact any donors and don't, they told me to be gone for 2 weeks, which is why I followed the direction. And that's what my attorney advised me to do. So I followed the legal directions I was given. And I think the whole process is quite irrational. And this was more of this in the movie, The Truth Inside Veritas. And then on February 10th, they indefinitely suspended without pay, which under New York law is being fired. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, that does make sense. And I think that playing that conservative is probably the best bet on your end. But I think for people like us, we go back to the days of Project Veritas, and we would look forward to these the videos that you produce, right? And everything seemed to be cohesive. It's like we could tell we're building towards something. Every day, every time an undercover video or whatever it was that came out, we knew that we were getting information. And so when we see these conflicts between these sides that we know are just like, it's not doing anything productive.
But this is where I disagree with you. A lot of people would say, and I think it's a smart thing you're saying, but I like to say, well, don't get into the weeds on this. Focus on the enemy. Okay, now bear with me what I'm about to tell you. The enemy is within us. The enemy, I don't know who this enemy is. Focus on the bad guys. The enemy is within us. Pride, greed, jealousy, envy. It's actually within us. And don't tell me you're not the greedy. It's always the other guy that's greedy, right? No, we all have an aspect of this inside of ourselves. And if we can conquer that, then we can change the world. The problem with, I think I've seen, the communists, so they have a lot of mission-oriented. If you go back to Whittaker Chambers, if you go back to Douglas Hyde, the book he wrote about communism, these people they profess more belief often in their faith than Christians do in Jesus Christ. So I found that the fight is within. And that's why I think this is a story worth telling, because you can't expose corruption if you don't have the right people that are engineered to fight the conflict within themselves. And that's what this story is really about. You can't have a team of pirates, going after the Pfizer and the FBI if they don't have integrity, because it'll just collapse. And that's what I think the next stage of this battle is, right? So thank you for the comment, Mike. I'm glad we could clarify at least some of that. We're going to answer a question posed by Mario's team, a question answer on the air. this is a person nervous to say this, but I'm going to answer it. They're anonymous.
The areas to avoid, the most efficient times to travel, and the best survival techniques to use on your
James and his girlfriend,
journey. How would you feel
a year ago?
Comparison.
Seraphin,
Well, I'd imagine you feel a
by
little
the way, hint, that might be part 2,
more
3, 4,
confident
5
that you're going to get to where you want to go, rather than just being pointed in the general direction.
He's a Fed. He's a disgusting, nasty Fed boy, and I'm not afraid of him. And he's a punk, and he's a loser, and I will give it some redacted affidavits, so help me God. But anyways, the intimate text messages that were shared from me and my ex-girlfriend, how were those obtained? That's the question of want to post it, but I'll answer it. How were those intimate text messages obtained, and what was the purpose of them using them against James? I don't know why someone would publish intimate text messages. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, James O'Keefe publishes undercover videos all the time. No. I have never gone into someone's master bedroom and recorded them having sex or recorded them talking to each other about intimate moments. I think the First Amendment does not include protections of spouses or consenting adults talking sexually with each other. There's absolute no purpose to publish that or record that, unconsenting information. It's illegal. Revenge porn is illegal. Zero-party consent recordings are illegal under federal law. I don't believe in bugging people's bedrooms. Why would someone do that?
The deliverables of a visual brand are relative.
I'm not a psychologist. I think they thought. So you're asking why would Kyle Seraphin publish intimate moments between me and my girlfriend that he was not a party to? I decline to comment. But some of these people are hurling homophobic insults at me, and some have said that is a projection of who they are. So if you're constantly calling someone a, quote, faggot, and you're constantly calling someone, quote, gay, maybe, just maybe, that's what you are, okay? And that's my response to that. The first part of that is, how did they obtain them? They were obtained when they fired me. They got my cell phone. Extracting messages from Telegram, which was synced between my personal device and my work device.
Having watched Lost very up close for a couple of years, I'm going to say something that you might think is naive, but I wouldn't believe it. He has certain initials he's had his whole life. He read Isaac Asimov. He read the robot series. He thought the robots might turn on us. I have to come in.
Any others before we adjourn? One or two more? What's that? Malloy Strickland?
Gentleman from Kentucky.
Malloy, go ahead.
For 90 seconds. What?
Malloy, you're live. Go ahead. You unmute yourself. No? Okay.
I'll have to stand here and tell the American people.
Oh, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I've been a fan for a while. I really like what you do. And I didn't see the movie, but
More taxes.
of course, everybody heard the news that you had been fired from there, and I was like, have they lost their mind? I mean, James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. This is not. I mean, you founded the thing. And it didn't make any sense to me. And I can't understand why they thought they could stop you by doing that.
Yeah.
That never made any sense to me.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't make any sense, and we're hoping to make sense of it in this movie, The Truth Inside Veritas, which is streaming on our website. You can go to O'KeefeMediaGroup.com and purchase it for $9 a month as a subscription. People complain about us charging for some of our journals. They complain about this. It's immoral. My response back to you is this. Do you pay for Netflix? Do you pay for Apple, iOS?
My
Do you pay for cable? Have you ever paid for cable?
at HGHS High
Do you
School.
pay for any type of news? Do you buy a magazine? Do you buy a movie? Do you stream music? Do you pay for a movie off of Apple? This is a legendary film. And I'm not even the one. I wrote some of the exhibits together. But the guy who produced this is did an incredible job. It's a cinematic masterpiece.
But if I did,
And it might
wouldn't
be
fair,
some of our
because
best
men and
work.
women are biologically different.
And we've shown you
The
about
boys
12
throw a
minutes of it
12-pound shot
online
about
for free, but the full hour, you're going to have to pay $9. We got sued last week, by the way. Do you know how much lawyers cost? $500, $700 an hour. I'm not sure how people expect us
While
to pay
girls throw an
those
8-pound shot,
attorneys.
35 feet.
And,
That's a big difference.
Should I put another
I
hater
strongly
on? Should we
disagree
bring one more
with
hater
what
on,
is
or
going on in the
do you
girls'
guys done
locker
with
room
haters?
and
I
on the
feel
girls'
like
track
haters are
team.
wrong.
So much
I
so
like
that I
haters.
changed my car for
Let's see if this guy has the courage to speak up. See if this guy. The official B, are you there? You're on mute. See, this is demonic behavior. Can you use your real voice, or do you have to run to a phone?
Hey, what's going on?
That was one of the Project Veritas people. That was, I believe his name is Brandon. You just heard
police saying is it
live on the. Did you guys just that was Brandon, you know, the guy from Michigan. Security. His code name is Security.
Oh my God.
You just heard a demon, a demonic possession, and RC were exorcising the demons live on the inside with James O'Keefe. Can the demon please come back? I want to hear more. That was exciting. You never know what's going to happen. I think we my colleagues are saying, I rebuke you. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. You just heard an exorcism live on this show.
Can you just talk about some of the success that you
got
made?
demonic
because I feel
and was
way more
spewing
comfortable
demonic
in my
activity. What's next?
Shadow of Ezra.
Oh, Shadow of Ezra. Go ahead, Shadow. You're a speaker, and you're unmuted. You're live on the inside with James O'Keefe. Go.
Thank you very much for having me. Is it okay if I ask a Epstein-related question? If not, I will turn back off. It's your space.
You can ask me whatever you want. I just can't talk about sources, methods, or what's coming next. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to make it really quick. I was listening to your spaces earlier, and you said you were getting inside information from these Epstein videos from somebody in the United States government. So my question is there a possibility that we'll receive some sort of information from you that will possibly reveal a name or two of an Epstein client list or something along those lines? That's all I wanted to ask. Thank you.
That's a great question. For those of you who are YouTubing, Instagram, you're looking at video inside Epstein's kitchen. Shadow of Ezra was asking about what's coming out next. You're looking at video inside of Epstein's library. This is what Rogan covered yesterday's chalkboard. We got a lot of attacks for publishing this. I don't know why. Do they not want me to publish this? I don't know why people attack me for publishing. I guess they think that there should be more. We want more. Well, okay. Well, we're working every day, a day and night to get you more. Let me answer your question this way. The people that came to us with this footage inside Epstein's library and bedroom were inspired because we published the video of the Prince Andrew banging underage girls audio. And a lot of you guys attacked me for publishing that. You thought it wasn't big enough. But I remind you that what citizen journalists need to do is publish one story. That leads to another story. That trusts sources to come to me. That trusts the other source to come to me. And I am speaking to sources inside the United States government. And they are telling me things I can't report yet because I have to verify that it's true. Now you might say, well, publish everything you know right now. I will not do that because I don't want to lie to you. And I don't want to publish something that I can't ascertain if it's true or not. I have to get the recordings. I have to get the evidence. So that takes time. But I'm very inspired by the fact that people are coming to OMG and Citizen Journalism Foundation. And I know that there will be more. And I hope that I can deliver the truth of what you guys want. I believe that will happen. I do not trust the government. And I think I've met Cash Patel. I think he's a great guy. I mean this sincerely. I think he's a genuinely good man. I also think the same of Bongino. I don't trust the institution that reports to them. And to kind of take this full circle, we all don't really trust the FBI, right? Project Veritas was an institution I created out of my father's garage. I sweat, I bled. I was raided by the FBI, I was arrested by the FBI. I was sued dozens of times, spent 3 years where I couldn't leave my house without talking to my probation officer. And I bled and sweat and I built it, and they stole it from me. And they removed me from my own creation. And it kind of leads me to believe that all institutions in American society have basically become institutionally corrupt and incapable of delivering to you the justice and the truth that you demand. So the answers have to come from people on the outside like us. So when you comment at me and attack my team for not doing enough, when the guys sitting next to me are working 20 hours a day and our undercover reporters are literally risking their lives going on dates with corrupt people, my response to you is, why don't you step up and join us? Why don't you do the job? We're doing everything we can. I'm sorry I'm not doing more, but I will do more. Stay tuned. Look at this. This is a picture of the phone of Jeff Epstein and all of his closest speed dials. The FBI did not give this to you. The Department of Justice did not give this to you. This was given to you by an individual who doesn't trust the government, so they gave it to O'Keefe Media Group. And whoever that is, I can't say who that is. They'll have to waterboard me. They'll have to torture me for me to give up who this is. If the United States Supreme Court were to order me to reveal my source, I would tell the Chief Justice, Your Honor, you're in error. I shall not reveal my source, because we have integrity, and that's what they trust. And that's why I want you to join our team at OMG, apply to work for us. You have 3 ways you can get involved. You could come work for us. You could donate to us or subscribe to watch the film The Truth Inside Veritas, $9, O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. And number 3 option, you could do absolutely nothing. So with that said, I have to wish you good night. We're going to be on Patrick Ben David's show in the morning in Fort Lauderdale, and hopefully other shows in later in the day. Tim Pool live. Stay tuned. God bless America. And I'm going to pull that demonic clip up because we saw an exorcism and it was really cool. Have a good night. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Truth without interjecting subjective. I live my whole life very subjective, and wanting to rationalize and justify my truth and my subjectiveness, because everybody's life is molded by experiences that they've been through, the way that they was raised. It can shape who you are as a person.
He did not have MS-13 for non-speakers. But he had tattoos on his hand, right? Yes. He did have tattoos on his hand, but they were not gang tattoos. Yes. But the tattoo was the marijuana leaf, right? Yeah, he had a marijuana leaf. So that's look, the marijuana leaf speak now, right? Then you have, what was the S for dollar? Wait, what was the S? Smiley face. Yeah, smiley face. And I think it was like a cross.
And I was telling you what God is.
skulls. And I would think those tattoos, what's those on top of those letters, on top of those tattoos.
Okay, I found something from
Yes,
Brock.
that was the indication. On top of those things, there was the letter that's on. So on top of the. So on top of those letters.
But what I'm trying to say is the picture that Donald Trump posted, that specific picture, it showed a guy with knuckles, all the knuckles that have passed through.
You're saying in reality that you're labeling God and it exists, right? And it has a perfect mind, but perfect to you without flaw. That means something to you, and without flaw is something that means to me. So you haven't really got me closer to getting me